Hello, in this video I will try to explain the basics of electricity. First of all, I will explain some basic terms of electricity. Next up, I will talk about insulators and conductors. After that, I will explain the basics of an electric circuit. And last but not least, I will explain you how to use a multimeter. So, you can compare electricity to a flowing river. A river has a certain pressure with which it flows. In electricity you call this voltage. So voltage is the pressure with which the power flows through a cable. The unit for this is voltage. Next up, you have the amount of water per time unit with which the water flows through a river. In electricity, we call this the current. So, current is the amount of power that flows through a cable per time unit. The unit for this is amperage. Last but not least, we have resistance. In a river, you can compare this to the amount of stones blocking the water. If there are more stones blocking the water will have a harder time flowing through the river, which results in less water flowing through the river. This is the same for electricity. If a component or cable offers more resistance, it is harder for the power to flow through. The unit for resistance is ohm. Every unit has an abbreviation. For voltage, this is U, and for its unit voltage, this is V. For current, this is I, and for its unit amperage, this is A. For resistance, this is R, and for its unit ohm, it is the Greek sign ohm. Now that you know these terms, you can learn the most used formula in electricity, Ohm's law. With this law you can calculate how much resistance something offers if you know the voltage in ampere, and the other way around. So, if you know two of the three basic units, you can calculate the third unit with Ohm's law. If you use this image, it's very easy to calculate using Ohm's law. If you want to know R, you just have to cover it and you see the formula for R. So, resistance is voltage divided by current. This goes for current. If you want to know current, you cover current and you see it. The formula for current is voltage divided by resistance. To calculate voltage, you just cover voltage and you see it's current times resistance. There are two types of voltage, alternating current and direct current. The abbreviation for direct current is DC and the abbreviation for alternating current is AC. So if you want an easy way to remember these, you just have to think about the band AC-DC. Alternating current means that the voltage goes from positive to negative with a constant time span, as you can see on this image. Direct current means that the voltage always stays positive. In electricity there are two types of materials, insulators and conductors. The difference between these is that insulators do not let power through and conductors do the opposite. They let the power go through. This is why you have a rubber glove on and you can touch an electric cable. You do not get shocked. But if you touch it with a copper plate, you do get a shock. This is why most cables have a rubber installation. Every electrical device is built out of one or more circuits. A circuit shows on a schematic way how the electricity works in your device. Every circuit has at least one power source and one component. Without this component, you get a short circuit. This means you connect the positive side to the negative side of the power source. The power in the schematic flows from positive to negative. If you want to measure one of the basic units of electricity on a cable or a power source, you can use a multimeter. A multimeter can measure these units in a safe way. The multimeter has two pins, the positive and the negative. The positive is the red one and the negative is the black one. If you want to measure the voltage of a source, the position of the pins does not really matter. This means that you can switch the positive and the negative and still get the right measurement. When you turn around the two pins, you get a negative reading, but it's the same as the positive reading. If you want to measure the power in a power source, you first have to know if it's AC or DC. A battery is DC. So, for this, we're going to turn on DC. If you have an AC power source, you turn on AC. To measure the power in the power source, you put the two pins on the two pins of the power source. So, for example, you put the black one on the left and the right one on the right, and you can see you get a positive reading of 8.40 volts in this battery. This means this battery has 8.40 volts. If, for example, I would have turned the pins around, you would see you get a negative reading. But with voltage, this does not matter. It's still the same. If you want to measure resistance, you just put it on the option resistance. For a battery, you can't measure the resistance, so this is not applicable in this case. If you want to measure how much amperage a source has, you just put it on the amperage option. You see there are three types of amperage. This is just the quantity of the amperage. So if you think you have a small quantity of amperage, you just put it on the smallest. But if you think you have a big quantity of amperage, you put it on the largest. If you want to measure it, you just connect the two pins to the source, as we saw with voltage. Thank you for your attention.